Chapter 91 Demonic Cow Ancient Jiao Jin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ye Feng looked at Princess Hongling in surprise. He didn't expect that this girl in red would be so decisive in killing. Seeing that she had killed Hai Wuji, she immediately cleaned up the remaining children of the family to prevent the news from leaking out. I didn't expect Brother Yi to have such a strong strength. Even Hai Wuji, a half-step martial king who is one of the top 10 disciples of the outer sect, is not a match for Brother Yi in one move. When Princess Hongling came back, she stared at Ye Feng with her beautiful eyes, as if she felt that she had once again reacquainted herself with the young man in white in front of her. He hid so deeply, his cultivation strength was simply earth-shattering. Princess Hongling couldn't help but be a little curious at this time, why Ye Feng was so strong and didn't show it directly during the assessment. But Princess Hongling was very smart and didn't ask much. She just quickly cleaned up the battle scene without leaving any traces. After she finished cleaning, she handed the storage spirit rings on several people to Ye Feng and said, "Brother Yi, even if we kill all the people who know about it today, with the means of Ao Xianhui, everything will be found out soon. At that time, not only will the strong men of Ao Xianhui come, but the sect law enforcement team may also come to our door. We are in great danger." Ye Feng nodded, his eyes were a little solemn, and said, "Indeed, if a real strong man comes, we will definitely lose our ability to resist in an instant, so we must have enough strength to deal with everything during this period." Although Ye Feng is very powerful now, he also knows his own limitations. He can deal with ordinary outer sect masters. But once the inner sect disciples of the advanced martial king level, or even the martial emperor disciples of Ao Xianhui, come, he has almost no chance of winning and can only be captured and killed. Princess Hongling said, "I am going to practice in the sect's spirit tower. There is a spirit gathering array and various auxiliary arrays in the spirit tower. The speed of practice will be many times faster than in ordinary places." Ye Feng said, "To practice in the spirit tower requires too many contribution points. I don't have any contribution points now." Princess Hongling immediately grabbed Ye Feng's hand and said, "I have them. I can give them to you to use at will." Ye Feng shook his head and said, "You have just entered the sect. The contribution points on you must have been exchanged for precious treasures from the sect's contribution hall. How can I use yours? I have a way to get promoted. You go to the spirit tower to practice. Don't worry about me." Princess Hongling saw that Ye Feng insisted, so she could only nod and prepare to leave. Ye Feng suddenly asked, "By the way, Hongling, what is the mountain and river ranking that Hai Wuji mentioned just now?" Hongling's eyes lit up, and she said excitedly, "The mountain and river ranking is the strength ranking of the younger generation of the great Yan dynasty. It is the strength ranking that all young warriors want to enter. It is said that Qin Outyan has surpassed the martial emperor and achieved the realm of martial sect, ranking 6th. Ye Feng's eyes flashed, and he said, "Who is the first on the mountain and river ranking?" Princess Hongling said in awe, "There is no doubt that it is our sword sect supreme senior brother Longjitian." "I know." Ye Feng nodded silently, turned around and walked away. Boom. Boom. In a large wild forest outside the sword sect, under a huge cliff, a figure of a young man in white was running fast. Whether it was the towering ancient trees or the small mountains and rivers on the road, they were all smashed by this young man in white. This young man in white is just like a human-shaped beast, with a terrifying body. He rushed around in the vast wilderness without caring about anything. He just rushed around recklessly, broke, cracked his body, and bled, but he didn't care. Because soon there will be a faint golden true qi to heal the injuries and cracks on the body. After the body is repaired, his physique and membrane become tougher and stronger. This figure is none other than Ye Feng. It has been 7 days and 7 nights since he walked out of the sword sect and came to this wilderness. In the past week, Ye Feng has been in this wilderness, using all kinds of barbaric and primitive methods to sharpen his body. This method was not thought up by Ye Feng himself, but based on a set of earth-level bodybuilding exercises. Demon Bull Ancient Dragon Power. Ye Feng stood under a cliff and blasted out with both palms. He did not use any martial arts, just running the body-refining technique that he has been practicing for some time. Mu, Accompanied by a heavy and vast bull roar, a huge demon bull phantom, with a huge ancient dragon wrapped around its body, suddenly appeared behind Ye Feng, hundreds of meters tall and majestic. Boom! Boom! Almost at this moment, Ye Feng's palm pressed on the cliff in front of him, a huge force suddenly broke out, boom! Thousands of deep cracks were suddenly created on the entire huge cliff. That kind of power was earth-shaking and very terrifying. It's worthy of being a ground-level body-refining technique. If I practice it for a while, as long as I can practice it to a small success, maybe I can make my silver battle body transform again, from the initial stage to the intermediate stage. Ye Feng thought secretly in his heart at this time, with joy on his face. This set of demonic ox ancient Jiao Jin was exactly a set of earth-level body-refining martial arts that he spent nearly all of his contribution points from the sect's secret book hall before leaving the sword sect. Ye Feng had just entered the outer sect and had some initial contribution points, however. In order to exchange for this set of body-refining martial arts, he consumed all his initial contribution points, only. Then did Ye Feng realize how precious the sect's contribution points were, and becoming a sect disciple still has strong benefits. If he has been practicing alone outside, he is just a casual cultivator, then he may never be able to obtain such precious body-refining martial arts. The demonic cow ancient Jiao Jin can cultivate a special kind of strength during cultivation, called the demonic cow's strength. Once it breaks out, it will shake the world. Ye Feng was silently comprehending this. He practiced this body-refining martial arts in order to temper his body. The skin, muscles, bones, flesh and blood, and internal organs all had to be tempered to a very powerful level before his silver battle body could transform, because Ye Feng knows very well that the divine art of creation and his own fighting body are the foundation and essence of his practice. All other things are auxiliary and are designed to promote the divine art of creation and combat physique. After all, it's just a little bit off. Ye Feng opened his eyes at this time and woke up from the state of understanding. He frowned slightly, always feeling that his demonic ox ancient Jiao's strength lacked a little bit of charm, and he was unable to make higher-level breakthroughs. Chapter 92 Goal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Charm, that's right. It's because I have never seen a creature like the ancient demonic cow. So how can I really understand the essential charm of the ancient demonic dragon's strength? Ye Feng thought for a while and finally found what he had been missing. But the ancient demonic cows are the dominant evil beasts in the ancient wilderness. They are supreme-level creatures that are impossible to encounter. Now they have long been extinct on this land. Ye Feng thought for a while, maybe he could find other ferocious cattle beasts in this wild forest and imitate their charm, just look for it. Ye Feng has a strong execution ability. He never procrastinates and acts resolutely. He immediately started running quickly in the wild forest, looking for the ferocious beasts of the cattle tribe that were similar to the ancient magic cow. Ye Feng did not use Xianxia's flying martial arts, because just 3 days ago, Ye Feng spread his purple cloud wings and flew high in the wild forest, and was almost hunted by a golden-scaled giant eagle. The golden-scaled giant eagle spread its golden wings, like a golden floating mountain. Which was very terrifying. Therefore, Ye Feng does not dare to rush to the high-altitude area now, because he knew very well that the high-altitude area in the wild forest was countless times more dangerous than the endless dense forest below. On the ground of the endless forest, there are many trees, mountains, deep water and swamps, etc., which can provide some shelter, but in the high-altitude area of the vast wilderness, there is nothing, a completely empty sky. Therefore, entering a high-altitude area is tantamount to directly exposing yourself to the sight of all ferocious beasts and birds of prey. That is extremely dangerous behavior. Swish, swish, swish. Swish, swish, swish. Ye Feng's figure was extremely flexible, like a monkey, scurrying back and forth in the wild forest. Buzz. He fully unleashed his powerful perception, which was similar to the power of spiritual thought that can be successfully cultivated only after entering the tidal martial realm, and quickly scanned the surrounding area. At this time, he wanted to find the ferocious beasts of the demonic cow family, observe their movements, living habits, etc., in order to confirm the magical charm of the demonic cow and his demonic ancient dragon power. As for the charm of the dragon, it should be a rare thing. And I'm afraid there is no hope for the time being. this is a crucial thing for Ye Feng, hard work pays off. Soon, when night was about to fall, Ye Feng found his goal. It was a deep swamp, and a black-scaled rhinoceros with a height of more than 10 meters was walking there looking for food. Boom, boom, boom. Every time this black-scaled rhinoceros steps down, the ground will shake violently. The black-scaled rhinoceros is a ferocious beast that is comparable to the powerful humans with the title of martial king. It has a trace of the ancient demonic cow's blood in its bloodline. Observing its habits and charm should be able to make my ancient demonic dragon become a success. Ye Feng lay down in the bushes around the deep water swamp where the black-scaled rhinoceros lived, silently observing every move of this evil beast. At the same time, he quickly described everything in his mind and verified it with his own demonic cow ancient Jiao, so as to understand the true meaning and essence of the body-refining inheritance of demonic cow ancient Jiao. The mysterious golden elixir in his brain brought from the previous life gave Ye Feng unparalleled comprehensive martial arts qualities. This is why Ye Feng spent some time observing the black-scaled rhino, because if it is other ordinary that if a warrior practices the demonic ox ancient Jiao, even if he is allowed to observe the black-scaled rhinoceros, it will probably be of no use even if he observes it for several months. But Ye Feng is different. As long as he is given a few days, he can grasp the essence of the charm of the black-scaled rhinoceros. This is the terrifying thing about martial arts talent monsters. Just like a powerful training accelerator, Ye Feng can quickly receive and digest various martial arts secrets and information, allow him to quickly grasp everything and discover everything quickly. 3 whole days and 3 nights. Ye Feng was silently watching every move of the black-scaled rhinoceros, tracing its charm, and melting it into his own demonic ox ancient Jiao, and at a certain moment, Ye Feng suddenly woke up from his state of enlightenment. He no longer lurked, but stepped out of the lush bushes. At this moment, Ye Feng was standing in front of the majestic and huge black-scaled rhinoceros. Roar! At this time, the black-scaled rhinoceros saw the little one suddenly appearing in front of him. This evil beast's red rhinoceros eyes suddenly revealed a natural greed for food. Roar! The black-scaled rhino let out a deep roar and stared intently at the small human figure in front of it. For this huge evil beast, if Ye Feng dared to appear in front of it, he was destined to become his own food. Boom! The black-scaled rhinoceros simply raised a huge rhinoceros hoof and stepped down like a hill. Well done! Ye Feng laughed loudly and suddenly struck out with a palm. The reason why he walked out of the surrounding bushes was to try his hand at that. I just realized how powerful Xiaocheng's demonic ox ancient Jiao is. Moo! Along with a heavy bull roar, a huge ancient demonic cow appeared in the void behind Ye Feng. This ancient demonic cow is no longer as illusory as it was at the beginning, but is almost becoming substantial. The ancient demonic bull condensed from the demonic bull's strength is huge and majestic. Standing behind Ye Feng, it has the majesty and momentum of a beast overlord. Roar! The black-scaled rhino was frightened when he saw the ancient demonic bull suddenly appearing behind Ye Feng. Obviously, the majestic body of the ancient demonic cow and the aura power that seemed to come from the ancient times made the black-scaled rhinoceros extremely frightened. The black-scaled rhinoceros has felt the fear and wants to escape, but it is already too late. Boom! One of Ye Feng's palms hit the huge hoof of the black-scaled rhinoceros. Suddenly a huge force burst out. Bang! Terrifying power burst out from Ye Feng's palm, directly blowing away the huge body of the black-scaled rhinoceros. Boom! The black-scaled rhinoceros crashed into a huge mountain, and the rolling rubble fell, making the black-scaled rhinoceros extremely frightened. Although it is a ferocious beast in the wilderness, its spiritual intelligence has not yet been fully enlightened, but the fear felt from the depths of the soul is extremely profound. When the black-scaled rhinoceros faced Ye Feng, they felt that they were not facing a human being, but an ancient overlord of their own race. The kingly aura of the demonic ox clan emanated from Ye Feng's body, causing the black-scaled rhino to feel great fear. Chapter 93 Water of the Spiritual Spring. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Roar! The black-scaled rhinoceros roared loudly, stepped forward with its huge hooves, and ran towards the distance. There's no escape. Ye Feng laughed loudly behind him and strode towards the black-scaled rhinoceros. Now Ye Feng's physique is extremely powerful, and his body is also full of explosive power. Although Ye Feng was not using Ziyun Yi at this time, his speed was also extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, Ye Feng chased for several kilometers and arrived outside a huge valley. This valley was actually filled with cold air and condensed with ice and snow. This turned out to be an ice and snow valley, with the whole body covered in white. What a strange place! Ye Feng's eyes were surprised. He never imagined that there would be an ice and snow valley deep in this vast forest, but the black-scaled rhinoceros had already ran in, and Ye Feng also chased after him, stepping into the ice and snow valley. The moment he entered the ice and snow valley, Ye Feng felt an overwhelming chill, which crazily penetrated into the flesh and blood of his body. Buzz! At this moment, Ye Feng felt that his whole body was about to be frozen into an ice sculpture. He shuddered. Silver battle body! Ye Feng roared, boom! Infinite majestic energy and blood suddenly burst out from his body. The powerful life essence actually condensed into a beacon of smoke above Ye Feng's head. The spirit is full of smoke. This is a strange phenomenon that can be formed when the body's blood energy is strong to a certain extent. Generally, only when a warrior is about to become a titled martial king, his body can have such strong energy and blood. Just the blood energy exuded from the human body can condense into beacon smoke high in the sky. Boom! Now that Ye Feng has cultivated the demonic ox ancient Jiao gene to a small level, his silver battle body has transformed directly from the elementary level to the intermediate level. Therefore, his physical strength and physique at this time once again underwent a huge transformation. At this time, Ye Feng released his silver battle body, and his whole body suddenly bloomed with a dazzling silver light. His whole body was like a big oven, and the majestic energy and blood spread throughout the wilderness. The cold air in the ice and snow valley could no longer invade Ye Feng. Over there, suddenly Ye Feng saw a Xianxia snow pond in the center of the ice and snow valley. Next to the Xianxia snow pond, the black-scaled rhinoceros was frantically drinking the water from the Tian mountain snow pond, visible to the naked eye. Every time the black-scaled rhinoceros takes a sip of the water from the snow pond, the injuries on his body are restored, and the demonic energy on his body becomes stronger. The water in the snow pond is actually emitting a faint aura. A deep look of surprise suddenly appeared in Ye Feng's eyes. He had seen records about this kind of pool water in the Yi clan's book pavilion. Could this pool of water be the legendary spiritual spring water? The water of spiritual springs is very rare. It is the spiritual water that can only be bred in some caves and heavens that are naturally raised in the earth. Every drop of spiritual water contains extremely pure spiritual essence and has extremely precious effects. For example, it can quickly repair the injuries of living beings, help condense the true energy in the body, and enter the titled martial realm faster. You must know that what a warrior cultivates in the 4 basic martial arts realms is true energy, and when a warrior continues to grow and compress the true energy in his body, and then converts it all into true essence, it means that the warrior has entered the titled martial realm. It is said that the 4 realms of the titled martial arts realm are. Above it, there is the legendary magical realm. At that level, the true energy in a warrior's body becomes another higher level source of power, called mana. Ye Feng knew very well that only by transcending the title martial realm and achieving the legendary earth-shattering magical power realm could he truly be regarded as an unparalleled powerhouse. But that is still very far away from the current Ye Feng. Ye Feng felt that in the entire Great Yan dynasty, there probably was no one who could surpass the titled martial realm, perhaps only among the hegemonic forces that stand at the pinnacle of the entire southern territory Earth Pyramid, there are powers at the level of magical powers. With such a big snow pond and spiritual spring, wouldn't it make me crazy? Ye Feng's eyes were shining, as if he had discovered a treasure. Stop drinking! Ye Feng roared, jumped up, and rushed towards the black-scaled rhinoceros. Every drop of water from such a large pool of spiritual spring is extremely precious. If the group of alchemists in the sword sect saw it, they would definitely regard it as a treasure, because using the water from the spiritual spring to refine the elixir will greatly improve the quality of the elixir. A pot of spiritual spring water can definitely be auctioned for a sky-high price in the world of alchemy. Not to mention, there is an entire spiritual spring in the center of the ice and snow valley. This is simply priceless. Roar! At this time, the black-scaled rhinoceros saw Ye Feng following him, and the savage beast immediately roared with ferocious power. It seems that this pool of spiritual spring water is the lifeblood of the black-scaled rhinoceros, and it will fight Ye Feng desperately. I don't have time to play with you now. Ye Feng's eyes were cold, murderous intent surged, and he punched directly, Taiku Dragon Elephant Fist. Boom! This punch was Ye Feng's powerful killing move, like a fist made of silver, the power of 6 ancient dragon elephants was melted into it, and it was full of unparalleled destructive power. The huge body of the black-scaled rhinoceros, covered with countless black scales, was directly penetrated. Howl! This behemoth let out an earth-shaking howl and fell to the ground, dead, the power of a punch, so scary. Ye Feng stepped over and released it directly into the oven of creation. Boom! Suddenly, a huge devouring force of darkness suddenly enveloped the entire black-scaled rhinoceros in the dark power, visible to the naked eye. The entire majestic body of this huge evil beast quickly shriveled up, and all the energy, blood and demonic energy in its body were swallowed up. Boom! And at the next moment, Ye Feng's whole body burst out with a new and powerful martial arts aura. That's the momentum of a breakthrough. 7th Heavenly Martial Realm. Ye Feng's eyes flashed with golden light, and he quickly calmed down the aura spreading throughout his body, and walked towards the snow pond spiritual spring in the center of the valley. Wow! Ye Feng scooped up some pool water with his hands and took a sip directly. Boom! The cold pool water filled with cold water entered Ye Feng's belly. It immediately turned into a stream of abundant and pure energy, flowing rapidly through his limbs and bones, strengthening his body and blood. Sure enough, it is the water from the spiritual spring recorded in ancient books. What great luck! Ye Feng's face suddenly showed great joy. This time he originally just wanted to chase a black-scaled rhinoceros, but what Ye Feng never expected was that he would stumble upon such a huge opportunity. Chapter 94 As Weak as an Ant. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ye Feng wanted to take away all the water in this pool, but the storage ring could not hold such a large pool of water at all. Correct! Ye Feng suddenly seemed to have thought of something and took out a green leather gourd from a corner of the storage ring. This green-skinned gourd was obtained by Ye Feng from an ancient tribe called Xianxia village deep in the wilderness. The guardian spirit of that ancient tribe is very powerful and mysterious. It is a gourd vine with independent consciousness. This green-skinned gourd is what the spirit sacrifice gourd vine gave him, and it can collect spiritual objects from heaven and earth. Ye Feng looked at the palm-sized green-skinned gourd in his hand, looking forward to how much spiritual water it could hold. Bo! He opened the mouth of the green leather gourd and injected a little bit of infuriating energy into the gourd in his hand. Crash! Crash! Suddenly, the water in the snow pool spiritual spring formed a small water column, which was quickly absorbed by the green-skinned gourd. Half an hour passed in the blink of an eye. Ye Feng was surprised to find that the spiritual spring in the huge pool had almost been sucked dry, but the green gourd in his hand was still not full. It seems that the gourd vine used to offer sacrifices to the spirits was really a mysterious existence. The green-skinned gourd it gave birth to was only the size of a palm, but its internal space was a world of its own. It was actually able to hold such a large pool of water. It's incredible. Ye Feng thought in his mind, put the green leather gourd into the storage ring, and prepared to leave this place. I didn't expect to encounter a pool of spiritual spring water here, and the gourd you just used. It is definitely a rare treasure. I am really lucky. Suddenly at this moment, a young man wearing black clothes, shaking an iron folding fan in his hand, followed by several powerful guards with deep auras, he walked in from the entrance of the ice and snow valley. He stared at Ye Feng with a cold look in his eyes, and said, "Let me tell you, I am the third son of Tiandu sect. Boy, I have seen everything you did. You are very powerful. I have always been cherished talent. Let's do this. Now you can dedicate the green-skinned gourd and a pool of spiritual spring in your hand to me, and then kneel in front of me and surrender to me. I can consider letting you serve me and become the protector of my sky poison sect." Third young master of Tiandu sect, there was a look of surprise in Ye Feng's eyes. He never thought that one day he would encounter others waiting for him. However, this third son of the Tiandu sect spoke too domineeringly and seemed to be bossing around. Ye Feng looked at the young man in black with cold eyes and said, "Since I have already obtained the water of the spiritual spring, it is impossible to hand it over. Moreover, you dared to speak to me like that just now." you should tell me apologize. Apologize, that the third young master of Tiandu sect suddenly laughed out loud, with a sarcastic look in his eyes. He said, boy, you are wearing the clothes of a disciple of the sword sect's outer sect. It seems that you are a disciple of the sword sect's outer sect. You must know that even if you are one of the top 10 outer sects of the sword sect, disciples, even inner sect disciples, must be polite when they see me. Who are you to ask me to apologize to you? The third young master of the Tiandu sect said at this time, smiling coldly. He looked at Ye Feng as if he was watching a mouse pretending to be ridiculous in front of him. Ye Feng didn't say anything. He just stepped towards the third son of Tiandu sect. Go. Boy, do you still dare to walk towards me? It seems that you are really stupid. You are a new disciple of the sword sect, right? Don't you know how powerful my sky poison sect is? That the third young master of Tiandu sect spoke up. I know that your heavenly poison sect is very powerful. It is a first-class force after the great Yan royal family and the sword sect, and all of your sects are masters of poison. Ye Feng spoke up, smiled faintly, and said, I am afraid of the entire Tiandu sect, but you, who are you? Are you qualified to be afraid of me? What? What did you say? But when the third son of Tiandu sect heard what Ye Feng said, his sneering face suddenly turned livid. He never thought that Ye Feng would dare to speak to him like this after knowing his identity. You must know that I am the third son of the Tiandu sect, a young master-level figure with a distinguished status, and this outer disciple of the sword sect is just a humble outer disciple. How dare you? That the eyes of the third young master of Tiandu sect immediately revealed a deeply ferocious look. Why don't I dare? That Ye Feng shouted loudly in an instant, interrupted the third master of Tiandu sect, and said coldly, as the third master of such a sect as Tiandu sect, your cultivation level is only the first level of the divine martial realm, you are too weak. You shut up, that the third young master of Tiandu sect roared loudly, his expression extremely ugly. You are the one who should shut up, that Ye Feng shouted loudly and mocked. To be honest, you were born in such a big sect, and you have countless cultivation resources since you were a child. If I were you, I would have cultivated to the level of Martial King, or even the Martial King. Territory. You, that the third young master of Tiandu sect turned extremely pale when Ye Feng said that. He was filled with endless anger at this time, and his face was red from holding back. But he didn't know how to refute Ye Feng, because what Ye Feng said was right. He had been idle in the Tiandu sect since he was a child and had never practiced hard at all. Therefore, among the three sons of the old master of Tiandu sect, he is the weakest one. My father can say that about me, but if you dare to say that about me, then I will have no choice but to kill you directly. That the third young master of Tiandu sect broke out and roared loudly. He yelled at the two guards of King Wu beside him, you two, hurry up and let me catch this kid, and then smash all the bones in his body. I want to see this kid being tortured by me. To death. That the tone of the third young master of the Tiandu sect was extremely cruel, and it was obvious that the killing intent in his heart was boiling to the extreme. Yes, third young master, that the two guards, who had reached the level of Martial King, immediately clasped their fists and shouted. Young man, you should never have offended our three young masters. That the two King Wu guards looked at Ye Feng, who was not far away, and spoke coldly. They sensed that the martial arts aura in Ye Feng was only at the Tianwu realm. He has not even stepped into the divine martial realm. He is as weak as an ant. A Martial King guard laughed loudly at his companion and said, leave this boy to me. Don't take action. A strong man like me will do it myself. This boy in white should be grateful to me for being able to die in the presence of a Martial King. In the hands of a weakling, it is actually an honor. At this time, the King Wu's guard said that he didn't even bother to look at Ye Feng, and just grabbed Ye Feng casually with one hand. Chapter 95, Cutting the Trouble with a Quick Sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chang. Suddenly, a harsh sword sound sounded. That the guard of King Wu who was laughing just now felt a pain in his neck. Immediately, his head flew high and fell to the ground with a snap. Bang! That the headless corpse of a powerful martial king fell to the ground with a crash, too dead to be dead. Kill instantly with one sword. Not far away, another guard of King Wu was waiting for his companion's return in victory. At this time, his pupils suddenly shrank. At that moment, he didn't even see clearly how Ye Feng drew his sword. His companion had already been killed with a sword. This guy is weird, that the King Wu's bodyguard immediately grabbed the third son of the Sky Poison sect, turned around and fled madly out of the ice and snow valley without even thinking about it. As for the third son of Tiandu sect at this time, he was already frightened, his eyes were blank, and he let his guards pull him to escape. He seemed to be still thinking about the shocking sword just now. I messed with someone I shouldn't have messed with. At this time, the third son of Tiandu sect knew that he was wrong. Moreover, it is completely wrong. That young man in white is not a humble and weak disciple of the outer sect at all, that is an extremely terrifying young sword king. When did such a terrifying guy appear among the sword sect? That while running away like crazy, the guards of King Wu were thinking fiercely. The third young master of Tiandu sect finally came to his senses and shouted in horror to the guards beside him, "Am I going to die today? Can we escape?" Seeing the frightened face of the third young master of the Tiandu sect, the guard of King Wu just wanted to slap the third young master hard, but he didn't dare. After all, the third young master of Tiandu sect has a distinguished status. He didn't dare to. The bottom offends the top. The King Wu's guard endured the anger in his heart and said in a deep voice, "Third young master, please don't yell, we will definitely be able to escape." Aha! Suddenly at this moment, a figure as fast as a stream of light flew through the air and landed directly in front of the two people who were fleeing. What? The legendary flying martial arts. At this time, the third son of Tiandu sect and the guard of King Wu were stunned. Directly in front of them, Ye Feng, dressed in white as Xianxia, was suspended in the air. Behind him, two huge purple wings were flapping slowly, giving people a shocking feeling. A proud man cannot be humiliated. We know we were wrong. The guard of King Wu immediately raised his fists in Ye Feng's direction, wanting to admit his mistake, but at this time, the third son of Tiandu sect seemed to have discovered something. He suddenly said excitedly, "This kid actually needs flying martial arts to be able to fly in midair. That means he must not have entered the title martial realm. Chen Shan, aren't you a strong king of martial arts? Take action quickly, kill this kid and take his head to me." "Third young master, please don't talk nonsense." The expressions of King Wu's guard suddenly changed. He wanted to say something, but it was too late. "Chang," there was another sword cry, and a cold sword body had pierced the chest of the third son of the Sky Poison sect. The third young master of Tiandu sect immediately opened his eyes wide, staring at the young man in white who flashed in front of him, and said with difficulty, You really dare to kill me, don't you know my identity? You will anger the entire Sky Poison sect." Cold, the rusty sword was pulled out, and before the third son of the Tiandu sect could finish speaking, he fell to the ground and expired. Ye Feng glanced coldly at the third son of the Sky Poison sect on the ground. "There's so much nonsense. Run!" At this time, the last remaining Wuwang guards quickly rushed into the distance, and even began to perform a life-consuming secret technique, just to escape faster. The Sky Poison sect is indeed very powerful, but if I kill all three of you, who in this endless wilderness will know that I killed you? Ye Feng smiled coldly, looked into the distance, stretched out his hand and made a sudden stroke. Zila, the space in the distance turned out to be like a piece of rag, with 3 cracks torn out at once. It's the space crack. Ah! The guard of King Wu who was running away madly while using a secret technique in the distance immediately screamed in horror. His whole body was cut into several pieces by the cracks in the space and fell from a high altitude. Another martial king fell instantly. As expected of the third young master of Tiandu sect, he is rich in wealth. At this time, Ye Feng found a storage spirit ring from the third master of Tiandu sect, which contained a lot of treasures and spiritual crystals. Obviously, this is the huge wealth that the third young master of Tiandu sect has as the young master, but now, all this wealth has become Ye Feng's private property. In this battle, Ye Feng knew that the reason why he was able to resolve the battle so quickly was because the opponent did not understand his true strength. That's why Ye Feng was able to use thunderous means to catch the opponent off guard, because if they are these people, they will know their hidden methods and strength from the beginning. the two martial kings were very vigilant, so what about this? The odds of winning the battle are actually not great, that's why Ye Feng realized at this time that showing weakness in his martial arts training was sometimes not a bad thing. Because that can give the enemy an illusion, confuse them, and make them relax their vigilance. Therefore, the death of these two heavenly poisoned sexy Wu King was quite unjust. Their real killing methods and poisoning methods had not been used yet, and they had already been killed by Ye Feng with a sharp knife. It is estimated that the two martial arts kings will die with their eyes open after knowing Ye Feng's thoughts. Next, Ye Feng also searched for the storage spiritual rings on the two strong martial kings, then he swallowed up all the skills of the two martial kings, and his cultivation instantly broke through to the 8th level of the Tianwu realm. If this kind of breakthrough speed were to spread, it would be simply shocking. I don't know how many people would be shocked, but Ye Feng knew that his divine secret of creation could not be revealed easily, because that might bring endless pursuit to oneself. If the ultimate inheritance that he brought from 3,000 years ago was discovered by some powerful people, those powerful people would definitely plunder his inheritance at all costs. And if the clues of the divine secret of creation were discovered by the Tongtian divine dynasty who did not know where it was, then Ye Feng knew that he would even be hunted down until there was no way to go to heaven and no way to go to the earth. The third young master's soul card is broken. Little brat, you dare to kill the third young master. Suddenly at this moment, a voice that was extremely frightening and angry suddenly sounded across the world. Ye Feng's eyes were startled and he immediately raised his head. He saw a young man in black clothes exuding strong poisonous gas, his face covered with dragon-shaped magic patterns, and he suddenly stepped down from high in the sky. The aura that filled his body was extremely terrifying, like a violent storm or turbulent waves, capable of destroying everything. Chapter 96, Chilling in the Heart. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He is a high-level martial king. This is a real strong man. That Ye Feng felt the powerful aura of a martial arts expert, which was many times more powerful than the two one-step martial arts guards before. Even though the distance was far away, Ye Feng felt that his skin was sore from the strong wind. Walk. Ye Feng didn't hesitate and ran quickly towards the distance. Little brat, you killed my third young master of the sky poison sect. You really deserve death. The young man in black, whose face was covered with magic patterns, roared. He stood high in the air and grabbed at the bottom, the Mahamudra of the void. This is a very powerful martial art. Boom! The vitality of the world boiled, and a huge black handprint as big as a mountain suddenly appeared on top of Ye Feng's head. It seemed to be able to suppress everything, covering most of the sky, which was very scary. Buzz. The huge black handprint was like a black cloud hanging from the sky, covering it all at once. That kind of power was as if the whole sky had collapsed. It was very terrifying. Obviously, this young man in black with magic patterns on his face is definitely a being at least at the level of a 4-step martial arts king. This is the advanced level among the strong martial kings, and their combat power is extremely terrifying. Taiku Dragon Elephant Fist. Ye Feng roared, and the shadows of 6 towering ancient dragon elephants appeared behind him. Boom! He punched the big black handprint that fell from the sky. Suddenly an extremely terrifying force broke out. Boom! It was like 2 great mountains colliding together, erupting with a roaring sound. Crack! The big black handprint shattered and turned into auras filling the sky. Thump thump thump. But Ye Feng was also violently knocked back step by step at this time, or the surface of his body, which looked like it was made of silver, actually cracked open and silver blood flowed out. 4-step martial king. What a powerful force. Ye Feng stared at the man with magic patterns not far away. Oh. You can actually take my palm without dying. The eyes of the man with magic patterns suddenly became extremely surprised, because he is a 4-step martial arts king. What a powerful cultivation level, and the other party is just a little warrior who has not even entered the divine martial realm. The magic pattern man's tone suddenly became extremely cold, and said, if you are an ordinary warrior, even a 1st-step martial king or even a 2nd-step martial king will be instantly obliterated by my big hand seal of the void, but you are so weak in the Tianwu realm. Your cultivation level is enough to resist me. Your talent is too terrifying. I must kill you, otherwise it will be a disaster for the entire sky poison sect in the future. that the moment the man with magic patterns finished speaking, he quickly flew towards Ye Feng in the air. A black dragon mace appeared in his hand. Hold head high, a dragon soul full of poisonous gas wrapped around the 1-meter-long dragon mace, roaring and roaring, boom. The man with the magic pattern suddenly waved the dragon mace in his hand, and suddenly a dark wave of power struck down. Aha! The strong sense of life and death crisis made Ye Feng flee from the place at once. Boom! Boom! At this time, the black light wave released by the dragon mace suddenly blasted out a huge hole in the ground 100 meters away from where Ye Feng was standing. Moreover, that black light wave has extremely strong poisonous gas. Thousands of all the plants, creatures, etc. on the earth were poisoned and died. One blow not only destroyed 100 meters of land, but also poisoned all living things within a kilometer. The plants withered and turned into ashes, which was really shocking. This weapon is definitely a high-level Xian-level weapon. It may even be an Earth-level weapon, second only to the legendary Heaven-level weapon. Ye Feng thought secretly in his heart, with a trace of shock and anger in his eyes, this man with magic patterns must have a very extraordinary and noble status in the Sky Poison sect, otherwise, it would be impossible for him to have such a high-grade and powerful soldier in his hands. This person is not something I can resist for the time being. Ye Feng knew it very well, even though he had resisted the void hand seal just now, but his silver battle body was almost shattered by the blast. If he keeps fighting, he will soon be exhausted and killed. Escape. Ye Feng didn't like fighting. After considering the possible consequences, he ran quickly towards the distance in an instant. Father once said that victory or defeat is a common thing for military officers. If you encounter someone you can't defeat, you will naturally run away. Ye Feng unfolded his huge purple cloud wings. His body was like a stream of light, like a purple lightning bolt, piercing the sky. Little brat, you can't run away. You'd better follow me back to Tiandu sect to face trial. This is your final fate. The young man with the magic pattern roared, holding the dragon mace in his hand, covered in black poisonous gas, like a dark king, rampaging through the sky, chasing Ye Feng. Boom! 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 Powerful waves of poisonous gas erupted from the dragon mace in the hands of the young man with magic patterns, sweeping across the army and attacking Ye Feng. Ye Feng dodged quickly, but was hit several times after all. Hateful. There are more and more cracks in his silver body, and the wounds are getting deeper and deeper. Moreover, waves of poison spread and infected the flesh and blood of his entire body. If it weren't for Ye Feng's silver combat body and strong physique, he might have been poisoned even if he wasn't bombed to death. The attack of this young man with magic patterns is indeed very powerful. However, Ye Feng was shocked at this moment. But the young man with the magic pattern was even more shocked than Ye Feng, because he discovered that he had hit the boy in white countless times. With this level of attack and damage, even a one-step martial king or even a two-step martial king should have been completely destroyed long ago. But the kid in front is still alive and kicking. Does this kid have a physique that makes him invincible? The indifference on the face of the young man with magic patterns had long since disappeared, and was instead filled with a deep eagerness and anger. It was the first time he encountered such a difficult opponent. You know, the boy in white is just a cultivator at the Tianwu realm. If he were in the same realm as himself, the young man with the magic pattern would not even dare to imagine how powerful this boy in white was. He might kill himself instantly with one move. The young man with the magic pattern thought of this possible outcome, and the murderous intention in his heart became stronger. We must kill him while he is still weak. Once such a young man grows up, it will be simply terrifying. The more the young man with magic patterns thought about it, the colder his heart became. The dragon mace in his hand erupted into even more terrifying poisonous light waves, shaking the mountains and shaking the earth, destroying everything. Puff! Ye Feng was hit again. The skin on his back was torn open, and a large silver spine was faintly exposed. His injuries are getting more and more serious. Chapter 97. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ye Feng drank heavily from the spiritual spring water he had obtained before to recover from his injuries, while maintaining his strength and running quickly. Suddenly a huge cliff appeared ahead. Under the cliff is an abyss with no bottom. Ha ha, boy, you are dead. The young man with the magic pattern laughed loudly. you are at the end of your rope. Yeah, that Ye Feng's eyes were fierce. He stepped suddenly, and jumped directly into the abyss under the cliff. Ye Feng now has no strength to use Xian Wing anymore, the true energy in his body has dried up and was completely consumed in the escape just now. What? Boy, you actually have the courage to commit suicide. That the young man with magic patterns made a sound of shock and anger. He watched Ye Feng falling into the abyss under the cliff, hesitated for a moment, and did not jump down. Even if the strong King Wu can fly, his flight is only for a short period of time and cannot last for long. The young man with the magic pattern didn't know how deep the abyss under the cliff was, so he didn't dare to gamble. Shwa. That at this moment, several disciples wearing Sky Poison sect costumes flew from a distance, and they turned out to be masters of the one-step martial king. Several people came behind the young man with the magic pattern, quickly knelt down on one knee and clasped his fists, saying, "I'm sorry, great protector, but I'm late." That the young man with the magic pattern is called Emojio. He is the great protector of the Sky Poison sect. He has great strength, profound cultivation, and supreme majesty. Emojio said calmly, "That kid's vitality is too tenacious. Even if he jumps into this abyss, I don't believe he will die. You go and gather all the experts from our Sky Poison sect and take a detour to search under this cliff. To find that boy, I want to see him alive and his body alive." Yes, great protector. Several Tiandu sect disciples clasped their fists and scattered towards the distance. Emojio put his hands behind his back and stared at the abyss. He smiled coldly and turned around to leave. Wide awake. You must wake up. At this time, Ye Feng was falling rapidly. He felt the biting cold wind like a knife blowing on his skin from under the abyss, as if it was cut into pieces by 1,000 knives. The terrifying pain constantly stimulated Ye Feng's nerves, preventing him from passing out. Ziyunyi, Ye Feng used the remaining energy in his body and condensed a pair of purple wings on his back, barely able to stabilize his body, but under his feet, there was still an infinite abyss. The cliff was too steep and he couldn't see what was going on under the cliff, but Ye Feng knew that when he fell to the ground, he must not land directly under the cliff, because Ye Feng knew very well that the people from Tiandu sect must be guarding there. So at this moment, Ye Feng flapped his wings hard, trying to stay away from the original position during the fall. In a daze, Ye Feng flew and fell for an unknown amount of time. Finally, Ye Feng couldn't hold on anymore and fell from a high altitude. However, Ye Feng felt somewhat reassured because he was now far away from the area where he had fallen vertically before. The strong men of Tiandu sect should be under the cliff for the time being and cannot find themselves. Demon Lord Armor. The moment before he fell into coma, Ye Feng had a thought in his mind, and his whole body was immediately covered with layers of black hard and ferocious flesh armor. I hope I won't be eaten by wild beasts. This was Ye Feng's last thought before his entire consciousness fell into coma. When Ye Feng woke up, he found that his whole body was still wrapped in the Demon Lord's armor, but when his eyes looked outside through the metal mask, Ye Feng was stunned for a moment. He found that he was now contained in a huge transparent glass cover. This transparent glass cover was placed on a huge auction stand, surrounded by a huge auction house. The place was crowded with people. At this time, Ye Feng saw an old man with a gray beard next to him, introducing the whole auction in a measured tone. This ancient armor was obtained from the depths of the wilderness at our auction. The old man with a gray beard pointed at the ferocious armor covered in armor from head to toe in the glass cover beside him, and said with a smile, "According to the appraisal of the treasure appraiser at our auction, this set of armor is at least they are all Xian-level armors." Xian-level armor. Hiss. Hearing the words of the old auctioneer, everyone in the entire auction house took a sharp breath of air. Armored soldiers are extremely rare, and Xian-level armor is even more priceless. I'll give you 10,000 high-grade spiritual stones. A young man in yellow spoke up and raised the sign in his hand. Young master of Xian Pavilion, you have just snatched a Xian-level spiritual sword. Do you want to take all the treasures for yourself? A big man in black smiled coldly, raised the sign in his hand, and said, I will give you 10,000 top-grade spiritual stones. I am bound to get this ancient armor. If anyone dares to increase the price, don't blame me for being rude. At this time, Ye Feng, who was wrapped in the Demon Lord's armor, was a little confused. What's the situation? How come I became a treasure in the auction? Could it be that after I fell into a coma in the wilderness, the demon lord's armor covered my whole body, making people think it was a discarded ancient armor, and took me out of the wilderness? Ye Feng thought in his heart, and the more he thought about it, the more possible it became. He had never used the demon lord's armor to fight against the enemy because he was afraid that he would not be able to kill the young man with the demonic patterns from the poison sect that day, and he would also be exposed as the mysterious demonic prodigy that the entire Zhejian alliance was hunting for. But now Ye Feng looks around. No one seems to recognize the demon lord armor he is wearing, and just thinks that this armor is an ordinary ancient armor. In this way, Ye Feng felt relieved. It seemed that the place he was in now might be a small city on the edge of the wilderness. No one could recognize that it was the demon lord's armor. In fact, it was normal for Ye Feng to think about it. Although he was wearing the demon lord's armor in the demon city, he had a confrontation with Long Zhejian, which shocked the world. Everyone knows that a peerless and mysterious demon genius appeared in the Great Yan dynasty, wearing the demon armor, but how many people have actually seen the demon lord armor? Even if the demon lord's armor is placed in front of their eyes, 99% of the people in the Great Yan dynasty may not recognize it. Ye Feng thought of this and suddenly felt that as long as he didn't use the demon lord's armor in front of some big shots, he wouldn't be easily exposed. Oops, the energy in my body has been exhausted and is far from recovered. I have to find a safe place to rest before I deal with the young man with the magic pattern from the Sky Poison sect. Chapter 98 Taiyuan City. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ye Feng was severely injured this time, although he got water from a spiritual spring, but he also suffered a big loss and was almost killed by the young man with the magic pattern from Tiandu sect. But as the saying goes, after breaking, Ye Feng feels that as long as he returns to his full strength, his cultivation will usher in a huge breakthrough. What you can comprehend in an instant is very precious. It is the enlightenment of life and death that cannot be cultivated in the sect's greenhouse. At this time, the bidding in the auction house was coming to an end. Ha ha ha, this set of ancient armor is mine in the end. That the big man in black from before gave a long laugh and stepped forward directly to take away the ancient armor in the glass cover. Wow, but suddenly at this moment, the armor in the transparent glass cover suddenly stood up. Boom, the metal glove of the armor was clenched and punched out, directly blasting the glass cover into countless fragments. Then, in the eyes of countless people who were shocked and stunned, the demon lord armor suddenly strode towards the outside of the auction and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Crack, the teacup in the grey-bearded auctioneer's hand fell and shattered on the ground. He stared blankly at the direction where the armor disappeared, his lips trembled, and he said, I have lived for more than 80 years. I never thought that one day I would finally see a ghost. Taiyuan City is located on the edge of the wilderness. It is a not very big city. Tap tap tap. Tap tap tap. At this time, an armor with cold metallic luster flowing all over its body was running fast on the street under the night. In the blink of an eye, the armor ran into an alley. Crack, click, click. Accompanied by sounds like metal clashes, layers of black armor, like pieces of scales, just like that, it quickly converged. A figure of a young man in white slowly emerged from the cold and ferocious armor, but at this time, the young man in white was completely broken and his long hair was stained with blood. He was obviously seriously injured. Looks like I need to find a place to change into a new set of clothes first. Ye Feng murmured at this time. He was almost sold off as an auction item just now, which shocked him. Fortunately, his true energy has recovered a little now, and he can still control the actions of the demon lord's armor. But what made Ye Feng a little confused was that he just ran away from the auction venue, but no one chased him from behind. It was really strange. Maybe those people were frightened by the armor that could run away. I don't know how far this city is from the sect. At this time, Ye Feng pulled out a map from his storage ring. He spread out his purple cloud wings, rushed high into the sky, and looked at the surrounding terrain. This map was brought out by him from the sect. As long as it is within the area of Jianzhong, it is basically drawn on the map. Soon Ye Feng knew where he was at this time. It turns out that this is a city on the edge of the wilderness called Taiyuan City. This place is actually not far from Jianzhong, but Ye Feng doesn't want to leave yet, because, after he restored his cultivation, he planned to swallow the 9-turn golden pill that he had previously obtained from Ye Feng. the head of the Shen family in Qiang City, at that time. Ye Feng got the 9 turns golden pill and did not choose to swallow it immediately, because he knew that the 9 transformations golden pill was very precious and would be used when he broke through to the divine martial realm, and now is the best opportunity. As long as he waits for his injuries to recover, Ye Feng is ready to take the 9 transformations golden pill and use the power of this golden pill to directly attack the divine martial realm. Ye Feng has strong self-confidence. As long as he steps into the divine martial realm and uses the demon lord armor, a set of heaven-level armor, the young man with the magic pattern from the Sky Poison sect will no longer be his opponent. This place must be recovered. That he thought of how badly he had been chased by the young man with the magic pattern before, Ye Feng's eyes suddenly showed a deep cold murderous intent. He was walking in Taiyuan City and took advantage of the moonlight to slip into a clothes shop. He took a black robe from the clothing store and wrapped it around himself. Then Ye Feng put down a silver ingot, turned and left. Fortunately, Ye Feng's storage ring still contained some mundane money. In fact, this is Ye Feng's last silver ingot, because since he entered the sword sect, the currency of the martial arts practice world is no longer gold and silver, but spiritual stones and even spiritual crystals. Ye Feng was wrapped in a black robe, his eyes were deep, and he was walking in Taiyuan City with a rusty long sword on his back. This rusty long sword was given to him by Uncle Nan, and Ye Feng has not discovered the secret yet. However, Ye Feng knew that this rusty sword was absolutely extraordinary, because he had never seen any damage to the rusty sword before. This rusty sword is extremely hard. Ye Feng has never seen a weapon harder than a rusty sword until today. Moreover, swords follow people's hearts. Although this rusty sword doesn't look very good, but after getting used to it, Ye Feng is reluctant to change weapons. Early the next morning, Ye Feng was wrapped in a black robe, and after having a hearty meal in a tavern, he entered a medicine pavilion. He was going to spend some spiritual stones and buy an elixir for healing injuries. Although the divine art of creation has incredible abilities, the golden energy can help Ye Feng continuously restore the life functions in his body, but now the divine art of creation has just entered the second heaven after all. That kind of repair ability is not particularly strong, it is very slow, so Ye Feng couldn't wait any longer. Anyway, after he killed the third master of the Sky Poison sect before, he got a lot of wealth from the third master's storage ring. It is more than enough to buy some elixirs to restore injuries. As for the water from the spiritual spring, Ye Feng didn't want to use it to recover from his injuries because it was too wasteful. Every drop of spiritual spring water contains the essence of spiritual energy that was born and raised on earth, and is priceless. Ye Feng knew that the most valuable thing on his body now was probably the water from the spiritual spring. You must use it sparingly. In the drugstore, Ye Feng was carefully selecting medicines. Boom! But suddenly at this moment, a powerful force suddenly burst out from an inn in the distance. Boom! The moment Ye Feng looked over, an even more powerful wave of power erupted in the inn. Wow! Wow! The entire huge inn suddenly shattered and collapsed. Amidst the smoke and dust that filled the sky, a burly man slowly walked out. He was wrapped in a worn-out battle robe, with a rugged face, a scar across his entire face, and one eye, which made him look very vicious. In front of him, 2 young men in brocade clothes had their necks crushed by this burly man. It was these 3 people who were fighting just now, but unfortunately those 2 young men seemed to be no match for the burly man. Chapter 99 The Iron Hand Thief. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's the Iron Hand Thief. Sure enough, it's him. He actually came to Taiyuan City. This is a powerful bandit who does all kinds of evil. He burns, kills, loots, commits all kinds of evil, and makes people and gods angry. Many people around were frightened and dispersed into the distance. The iron-handed thief walked towards the distance with a bloody and ferocious look on his rough face. Iron Hand Thief, I finally found you. But suddenly at this moment, a long laugh came from not far away. In the shocking sight of everyone, a young figure stepped on a golden flying sword. He was dressed in white and had long flowing hair. He was holding a wine pot in his left hand and a long sword in his right hand. Coming from a distance, like a swordsman, he has an extremely chic aura. With one sword and one song, the world is under heaven, but I am the only one who sings the long song of Chu. Along with a cool chant, The young man in white clothes jumped down from the high altitude and landed on the ground. So hot. This is Chu Chang'e, the eldest disciple of Luoyun sect. What a dashing young man, he is indeed Chu Chang'e, who is known as the #1 swordsman genius in our Taiyuan city. That everyone's eyes showed awe, and some girls' eyes were filled with admiration. Chu Chang'e was very handsome, as rich as jade, and with a long sword in his hand. He looked like a peerless master. He stared at the Iron Hand Thief and said with a long smile, "Iron Hand Thief, I finally found you. You have done many evil things. Today I will kill you for heaven's sake." Boom! That the iron-handed thief suddenly took action without any hesitation. Ha ha ha, good time, that the long sword in Chu Chang'e's body instantly stabbed forward, displaying a set of brilliant and peerless swordsmanship. Luoyun's sword technique. Chu Chang'e laughed heartily, holding the sword changed in all directions, and the sword light bloomed brightly, like clouds falling from the sky. It was so gorgeous that it enveloped the iron-handed thief in an instant. This iron-handed thief is dead, that everyone felt extremely happy. Finally, a peerless genius took action to deal with this vicious and iron-handed thief. Everyone, the bandits are dead. Don't worry. Taiyuan City will be at peace from now on. When Chu Chang'e saw the iron-handed thief covered in the light of his Luoyun sword, he immediately turned around and smiled loudly at everyone in Taiyuan City. His white clothes are as white as the snow, his long hair is flowing, he is as handsome as jade, and he has the temperament of a peerless genius. At this time, all the girls couldn't help but scream in admiration. Ha ha ha! Chu Chang'e drank the wine from the pot suddenly, laughed and sang, very coolly, a long song, "A sword to the end of the world, I am the only peerless Chu Chang'e." Suddenly, at this moment, a cold and hard metal arm penetrated Chu Chang'e's chest from behind and stretched out. The metal arm was stained red by Chu Chang'e's blood. What? Chu Chang'e's originally carefree face suddenly became stiff. Zila! Immediately, a huge force burst out from the metal arm. Chu Chang'e, the Luoyun sect's #1 kendo prodigy who had been singing so gracefully just now, was torn to pieces in an instant, staining the sky with blood. Ah! Many girls around them, whose eyes were twinkling with stars, were immediately frightened and screamed by the bloody scene in front of them. The person who killed Chu Chang'e was naturally an iron-handed thief. He did not die in that gorgeous flowing cloud sword light at all, but walked out directly and tore Chu Chang'e to death instantly. The Iron Hand Thief wiped the blood on his metal-made arm and said with a cold smile, "Humph. What a fancy Luoyun sword technique, what a bullshit genius who is the best swordsman, so weak and pitiful." The iron-handed thief glanced disdainfully at Chu Chang'e's body on the ground, then he suddenly looked at the frightened people in Taiyuan City around him, and suddenly his eyes showed a ferocious look. "You guys were very happy just now cheering for that bullshit genius, so today I'm going to go on a killing spree." The moment the Iron Hand Thief finished speaking, countless people around him became extremely stiff and their eyes were extremely frightened. This iron-handed thief was so powerful that he even killed Chu Chang'e, the first genius of the Luoyun sect at the divine martial realm level, in an instant. Who in Taiyuan City can resist him? I am afraid that only the strong men in the City Lord's palace can stop this vicious iron-handed thief, but the people in the City Lord's palace will definitely not offend a vicious and powerful man like the Iron Hand Bandit just because of a group of civilians. The fearful eyes of everyone around him made the iron-handed thief enjoy it very much. The killing that makes my blood boil is about to begin, but who should I start with? That the cruel eyes of the iron-handed thief suddenly focused on a young man in black robes in a medicine shop not far from him. He smiled coldly and said, "Boy, the look in your eyes when you look at me is very calm, not fearful. That's why you still dare to pretend to be calm when the time comes. You seem to be as hypocritical as that Chu Chang'e, which makes me very unhappy. Then my killing feast will start with you." At this time, the entire surrounding field was filled with dead silence. No one dared to move or even breathe, because the Iron Hand Thief is too powerful, too vicious. At this time, I saw that the first person the Iron Hand Thief had chosen was a young man in black robe standing in a drugstore buying medicine. Many people breathed a sigh of relief. Fine. The Iron Hand Thief didn't choose them. But it was a young man in black robe carrying a rusty sword in a medicine shop. Now everyone can only pray silently in their hearts. It is best for this iron-handed thief to kill a few people and then leave without wanting to kill anyone. Tap, step, step. The Iron Hand thief was extremely tall, wrapped in a blood-stained battle robe, and his whole body was full of ferocity. He stepped towards the young man in black robe carrying a rusty sword on his back, his eyes filled with ferocious murderous intent. In Taiyuan city, the reason why the iron-handed thief dares to be so bold is because he knows this small town very well. The people who can threaten him are the people in Taiyuan city's city lord's mansion, but that group of people didn't absolutely crush him, so they didn't dare to mess with him at all, because those who are barefoot are not afraid of those who wear shoes. The Iron Hand thief enjoyed the tranquility before the killing. He even closed his eyes slightly, enjoying the exciting silence. The time is up, I'll be the first to send you on your way. The iron-handed thief suddenly spoke up. He stretched out that metal arm, and his 5 fingers were like iron pliers, capable of tearing everything apart. This is the powerful weapon that the Iron Hand thief is famous for, a metal arm made entirely of alchemical iron. This metal arm gives the Iron Hand thief extremely terrifying killing power. The flesh and blood of an ordinary warrior's body would be penetrated and torn to pieces in an instant under this metal arm. Chapter 100 The City Lord Invites You. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boy, you are about to die and you still dare to pretend to be calm. Well, I will help you. That the iron-handed thief still stood there calmly when he saw the young man in black robe carrying a rusty sword on his back. Instantly, an inexplicable anger surged out of his heart. Who gave this boy the courage to despise himself so much? Die. That the iron-handed thief suddenly stretched out his metal arm and grabbed the black-robed young man directly. Boom. But suddenly at this moment, the young man in black robe suddenly stretched out a hand and pinched the metal arm of the iron-handed thief instantly. The two collided and made a dull banging sound. The iron-hand thief's indestructible metal arm suddenly stopped in midair. What? At this moment, countless people around were dumbfounded. Who is that young man in black robe? He just stretched out a hand and pinched the most powerful metal arm of the Iron Hand thief. But the most horrifying person at this time was the Iron Hand thief himself, because he knew very well how powerful his metal arm was. But just now, the Iron Hand thief felt that what he hit was not a person's palm, but a copper mountain and an iron wall. Looking at the indifferent expression of the black-robed young man in front of him, the Iron Hand thief finally knew that he had offended someone he could not offend, but he was very confused. How could there be such a terrifying young strong man in Taiyuan city? Boom! The iron-handed thief burst out with momentum. He retreated instantly and ran towards the distance. The green mountains will not change, and the green water will always flow. Boy, let's see you next time. Clang! A harsh sword sound suddenly sounded. The next moment, everyone only saw the young man in black robe pulling out the rusty gun on his back. With the long sword, he slashed in the direction in which the iron-handed thief was escaping. Boom! In an instant, a terrifying sword energy and sword light filled the entire void. The body of the iron-handed thief who turned to run away suddenly froze in place. There was a bloody seam on the back of his neck. Then there was a click. The head of the iron-handed thief fell off his neck. His body also collapsed to the ground. One sword. Just one sword. Iron-handed thief, dead. Everyone stood there with blank eyes, too shocked to speak. At this time, Ye Feng looked like he had killed an insignificant ant. With a calm face, he walked to where the iron-handed thief was lying and snatched a storage ring from the thief's finger. Of course, Ye Feng also touched the storage ring on Chu Changa's body. The wealth of both of them was very rich, allowing Ye Feng to make an unexpected fortune. He turned around, and in the dull gazes of everyone, he was wrapped in a black robe, full of mystery and freedom, walked towards the distance, and disappeared at the end of the next street in the blink of an eye. It was only at this moment that everyone breathed a sigh of relief, feeling that the depression all over their bodies slowly disappeared. That young man in black robe just now had such terrifying swordsmanship. Could he be a disciple of the legendary sword sect? Some people asked questions with awe in their eyes, because everyone feels that only among the behemoth Jian zone can a young prodigy with such terrifying strength come out. The Iron Hand thief is really unlucky to have provoked such a being. Yes, he was killed with one sword strike. It was so fast that I didn't even react. The iron-handed thief was dead. Everyone exclaimed in amazement, looking at the body of the iron-handed thief, and felt very happy in their hearts. After Ye Feng left the fighting area, he found an inn in Taiyuan city and stayed there. Within the next few days, it has majestic medicinal power, coupled with the special golden energy derived from the divine secret of creation. Ye Feng's recovery speed was extremely fast, however. In just a few days, he had returned to his previous cultivation level in his heyday, and Ye Feng's guess was correct. He had just recovered his cultivation. After going through the hardships of life and death, his realm had directly broken through to the peak of the 9th level of the Tianwu realm. It's time to attack the divine martial realm. Ye Feng murmured, he has been waiting for this day for a long time. Buzz. Ye Feng took out a pill that exuded a faint golden light from the storage ring. It is the 9 transformations golden elixir. Gulu, that without any hesitation, he swallowed the 9-turn golden pill directly, and at the next moment, Ye Feng suddenly felt a powerful heat flow, like a flash flood. It suddenly exploded in his limbs and bones, and then crazily integrated into every inch of his flesh, blood, and bones. The entire black robe that Ye Feng was wearing was automatically blown away by the wind, and his long black hair was dancing wildly in the air, and he looked full of powerful power. For 3 whole days and 3 nights, Ye Feng practiced in seclusion in the wing of the inn, trying his best to refine the power of the 9 turns golden pill. Finally, on the morning of the 4th day, Ye Feng's aura disappeared. No, it shouldn't be called disappearance, but deep guilt entered his body. His cultivation finally succeeded in entering the divine martial realm at this moment, the first level of the divine martial realm. This time, Ye Feng broke through without even using the majestic spiritual energy and the golden elixir in his mind. Ye Feng stood up instantly, his eyes were bright, and silver light shone in the depths of his pupils. Dong dong dong. Suddenly at this moment, there was a knock on the door outside the wing, and along with the knock on the door, a respectful voice sounded outside the door. Young master should be here. I'm sorry to bother you, but our Taiyuan city lord has invited you to come and sit at the city lord's mansion. People from the city lord's mansion. In the house, Ye Feng heard the sound outside the door, and his eyes suddenly showed a look of doubt. The city lord of Taiyuan city? Do you want to invite yourself to the city lord's mansion? But it seems that he and this Taiyuan city lord don't know each other at all. But Ye Feng still opened the door. He saw a guard with a knife standing outside the door. The guard with the knife saw Ye Feng appearing at this time. Although he already knew that Ye Feng was very young, at this time, he looked at the face of the young man who seemed to still have a trace of childishness. The guard with the knife couldn't help but take a breath of air. It was this young man who killed the iron-handed thief with one sword. It's incredible. The figure in black robe in front of me is so young. Ye Feng saw the surprised expression on the face of the knife-wielding guard in front of him, and he couldn't help but ask, "What? Do you know me?" The guard with the sword immediately shook his head vigorously and said, "I don't know the young master, and I have never met him before, but now the young master's reputation has spread throughout Taiyuan city.